Hello, my lovely witches. I hope you're all well. I hope everything's going well for you in life, in art, in witchery. Today, as we are at the midpoint in the year, thought I would share with you my journey so far, now that we're halfway through the as above, so below prompts. So you can see my book is already falling apart. Well, not falling apart, but it's just hanging in there. It's very chonk, especially as it has my Grimoire 52 in one side. But we're only looking at as above, so below today. I will do a video at some point for Grimoire 52 as well. But in case you don't know what as above, so below is, it is a prompt series, a community project developed by myself and my friend Emily from Fern and Oak Art. You can find her channel linked down below, and I will also link both of our Instagram pages because that is where we are sharing the prompts. So, new drop of prompts came out today for the full moon. And I haven't stuck them into the front of my book yet. I print them all out. Every single time I print them out, for some reason, I managed to get them a different size because I don't remember what I did last time. You'd think I'd write it down or something. It's anyone with OCD, Virgo in their chart is probably just freaking out right now seeing the fact they're all different sizes. But yeah, I'm Scorpio. I'm a bit more relaxed about these things. So let's get stuck in. So the first set of prompts was for Lunasa in the Southern Hemisphere. And that was Grain Mother, which I did this beautiful collage painting of the Grain Mother. And then we had Fiery Passions for Lunasa. And we had Dry as a Bone, because as you know, when I've talked about it, certainly here in Australia, and I'm sure many other parts of the Southern Hemisphere, it can get very, very dry at that time of year. Really enjoyed these three prompts. And then the three prompts that were global were the Water Bearer. Now I also did another piece outside of my book in this. When we come and do the final recap, I think, of the full year, I will try and bring in the other bits and pieces that I've done, because I didn't just work in my book this year or so far for these prompts. I did other little projects, and some of them are art projects, some of them not, based on or inspired by the prompts. So this is a prompt series that is absolutely 100% not confined just to art witches. You can use these prompts for anything. So this was obviously Aquarius season and the Water Bearer. A Mercurial Vibe. Really enjoyed that one. That was fun. I just chucked everything at that one. And then we had Rites of Lupercalia, which is an ancient Roman festival around the same time as Valentine's Day in February. So really interesting to look that up. There's a lot of pretty unusual things that they did for the Rites of Lupercalia. Really, really interesting. I highly recommend delving into that. And this is the other thing that we wanted to do with these prompts, is offer some little ideas that aren't, although this is a seasonal and Sabbath-based prompt series, we wanted to also offer people the opportunity to delve into things that might be more astrological. They might be related to ancient festivals such as this one, other things that are sort of more global and not entirely based on Northern and Southern Hemisphere. Sorry, Godric is attempting to sit on my lap, which makes it hard for me to do anything. So those were the global prompts for the February Lunasa what is it, in bulk season? Yes. Sorry, I had to think about that. So yeah, then we move on to the Northern Hemisphere prompts. Now, for this 6 months, I have actually done all 9 prompts. I've done the Northern Hemisphere ones as well. I actually hadn't planned to, but I was just inspired to. I came up with the Southern Hemisphere prompts. Emily came up with the Northern Hemisphere prompts. And between us, we have come up with the global prompts. And Emily's prompts were so great. I was like, well, I really love that. I want to do that too. So I did. And in some cases, I have sort of adjusted them to suit what was going on around me at the time. And other times I just ran with the fact that it was not necessarily specific to where I lived, but was just a great prompt anyway. So this one was planting the seeds, a really lovely in-bulk ritual for a lot of people, but it worked for me at the time. I was looking for work. I now have a new job, and this was planting seeds of the things that I wanted in my new role. Then we have Bridget's Flame of Inspiration. Bridget obviously being very highly associated with the Sabbath of Imbolc, but I work with Bridget as a deity for creativity. So this also worked really well for me. And being February and being very hot, the flames were also very appropriate for the time of year. And then we had Hope in the Shadows, which I really loved, and I didn't do an art spread exactly. I mean, I know this is quite pretty, but I really focused on a tarot spread that I created. What to leave in the shadows, a place this path could lead, and what to bring to the light. So these are the cards that I drew. This was from the Lord of the Rings tarot. And yeah, I just popped that in there without going completely overboard with the artiness. This is not my art. This is not painting or anything. This is actually just cut from a magazine. And then we come to that. So that was the first drop of prompts. So we come to the second drop of prompts, which was Mabon in the Southern Hemisphere. So we're starting out with Mabon, and then we're looking at Ostara. Sorry, I had to think for a minute there. It's really hard for me to work out what's halfway across the world. So obviously, apparently, Ostara, I was thinking spring equinox. What else is it called? Ostara. Okay. So this is the first prompt that I did for the Southern Hemisphere, obviously being where I live. So it's a frolic in the autumn mist. And this is a frolic in the autumn mist with snacks. But this was so much fun. This was so much fun to do. I really wanted to embody the feeling of mist, and working out how to convey that was an interesting and fun challenge. So there is the frolic in the autumn mist. This is fun actually, going back to these. It's been ages since I looked at them. This spread was about the alchemy of rain, because where I live in the Southern Hemisphere particularly, this is the time of year where things start to change. Where we do start to see a bit more rain. It depends. I mean, actually this year it's been very, very, very dry, and we haven't even had any rain now, and we're almost to Yule. So that's been just in South Australia. Other places around Australia have had, more traditional weather, and I'm sure that other places within the Southern Hemisphere also have. But this was about the alchemy of rain and how it can completely change the landscape. Again, a really fun way to interpret the prompt. One of the things that I have found in doing these prompts is that thinking up and creating the prompt is one thing, a lot of fun. And then sometimes you get to the prompt and you're like, okay, why did I create this prompt? I don't know what the hell to do with it. How am I going to interpret this prompt? And that is such a great creative challenge. I have to admit, I am loving that creative challenge. Sometimes it feels straightforward, like this one. So this was the third prompt for the autumn equinox, Magic Mycelium. And you guys know my love of mushrooms. It was just going to be a mushroom explosion. There was no doubt. So there she is. And then we move into the global prompts. So this was the fish and the ram, being Pisces season and into Aries season. And I wanted to, at this point, I was starting to want to get back to doing a little bit more painting. I've been doing so much collage, particularly with my art witchery in recent years. And I used to do a lot more painting and drawing in my, what I might term my serious art, which is not serious, but I think we've spoken before about that I have previously particularly viewed the art that I do that isn't for a magical purpose or exploring a magical theme being separate from my art witchery. And I wanted to sort of bring myself back to my roots and go back to that. So I did that, but also included collage in the Godric. We don't need your help, thank you. No. Come on. Good boy. Yeah, I wanted to sort of incorporate both the traditional painting and the collage. Oh, getting threads collected on my ring. And here we are. Fish, ram. Why there is a castle in the background, I couldn't tell you. I just liked it. And then we had dichotomy, light and dark. So this was obviously about balance, about that equinox day-night being balanced. And I actually didn't do something in my book for this, but you can see I've recorded it here. I created these candlesticks, painted candlesticks of the moon and the sun. Again, to go with that dichotomy, light, dark, night, day, moon, sun, etc. Another fun project. And then the global prompts. So this first one, as above, so below, felt sort of obvious because we've called the whole project as above, so below, because we're talking about the fact that we sort of mirror each other in the different seasons. As above, Northern Hemisphere, so below, Southern Hemisphere. But it also felt that because this, for me, I actually came up with this prompt. I mean, it's not really coming up with something, but, you know, I chose this prompt because it is the equinox. And therefore, we are equal day and night, either side of the planet. And that just felt very as above, so below, equal, as within, so without, etc., etc. So that is where I went with that. Enjoyed that one very much. And then we have that's all of them. So this is the Northern Hemisphere prompts. And this one was in like a lion, out like a lamb, which is a very, it's an old school sort of saying that winter comes in like a lion, quite fierce and ferocious, and out like a lamb, and it's much more gentle as we're going into spring. I love that. And it even worked for me here in the Southern Hemisphere because we go into summer like a lion with complete ferocity of the sun. It's so hot. And then as we transition into autumn, we come out like a lamb. It's a lot more gentler and the weather becomes a lot more easy to cope with. So I liked that too. I think that worked nicely. Then we had Enchanting Eggs. Now, this one, I created some eggs. I actually created more than just there. I've got all sorts of crap in the back of this book. Let me see if I can get out. There they are. I hope that is still all in frame. So because it made my book so chunky, I actually didn't stick them all into the nest. Cute nest pocket that I made, but I stuck them in the back of the book. So I just had fun. I just cut out some pieces of watercolor paper and doodled things on eggs because why not? And there's very much, you know, also sort of worked for me for the Southern Hemisphere, because the secular holiday of Easter, I call it, I know it's a Christian holiday, don't at me, my lovely Christian friends. I'm not disrespecting that it is a Christian festival. However, there is a very secular side to, you know, the Easter holiday. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's very much about eating chocolate eggs and the Easter bunny and all of that sort of stuff. So it's sort of worked for me too, even though it's very clearly a very austere spring vibe sort of prompt. So this is something that I've found surprising, that as we've gone along, the prompts haven't actually felt, like the Northern Hemisphere prompts for me, haven't actually felt as out of place as I expected. And I hope that the same can be said of some of the Southern Hemisphere prompts for my art witches in the Northern Hemisphere. But even if not, it's still fun to explore them. And I also believe that we can hold on to the other hemisphere prompts, and we can always explore them in 6 months if we choose to, or not at all. That's sort of the whole point of the program, was to be able to share a global prompt program that didn't discriminate against anyone. And then we have Persephone's Ascent. And obviously within the spring season, that is the time where the goddess of spring, as Persephone can be seen, is coming out of the underworld. This is, for me, this is her ascent, but this is where we are now in the Southern Hemisphere, and that's where she will be in 6 months' time. So again, I found a way to align the Northern Hemisphere prompt with what's happening right now for me. Surprisingly so. Maybe it's just that they're really cool prompts. Thank you, Emily. So then we're coming into Samhain. So this is the last set of prompts that I've actually completed, because obviously the new prompts have only just dropped today, and we will, I will get to them. So this is Ghost in the Machine. And again, I mean, this was just fun. It was just fun. Cute wee ghosties on a page. And then we had the Season of the Witch. And I chose a really lovely autumnal palette. This gorgeous imagery of the two witches on the broomsticks. This cat, because he's gorgeous. And some bones and leaves and books for some reason. Just because they feel witchy. Then we have the Raven King. Another, really felt great. Loved this one as well. And that's all of the Southern Hemisphere prompts that we did. So then we move into the global prompts, which this particular season were created by Emily. She had this, she was delving into Taurus season, and started to look at Hathor as a goddess, and that then led her to looking at a couple of other Egyptian goddesses, and decided that the 3 global prompts this time around would be centered around these 3 Egyptian goddesses, which I just loved. I really loved that. So this is Hathor's Promise. And the next one we had was Isis's Ritual. And finally, Nut or Nut, and I'm not sure exactly how that's meant to be pronounced, but that's Her Secret. And I too really enjoyed delving into these 3 goddesses, and I sort of felt compelled to link the 3 spreads using colour. I don't know if you've noticed that, but there's a sort of warm earthy tones and then a blue or blue-green colour palette. So I felt that they linked quite nicely together that way. And then we come to the Northern Hemisphere prompts. The Green Man's Invitation. I will always be up for a Green Man. An invitation to celebrate the Green Man. Love the Green Man very, very much. And just to tie it back into what's happening in my local area at this time of year. In fact, it was just last weekend. There's a festival in the Adelaide Hills, and I went to it for the first time, and it's called the English Ale. And the symbol, their symbol for the English Ale is in fact the Green Man. And it's a celebration of traditional sort of English pagan celebrations, festival things. One of the things that they do at the culmination of this festival is to actually burn a giant wicker man. Great fun. So huge bonfire, and they had a beautiful druidic ritual for peace, and there was lots of witchy wares to buy and nice food and dancing and Morris men and, you know, a beautiful parade. It was just great. So the Green Man's invitation for me this year was to attend the English Ale festival, and I loved it. It was fantastic. Then we had Leaping the Fire, which was also a fun one. Obviously, this is a Beltane prompt. And that's obviously a very traditional time for couples to jump the fire. I decided to interpret it more of a, you know, let's dance around the bonfire. Again, because that actually works for us here in the Southern Hemisphere. At Beltane, we actually go into fireban season. So you can't have a bonfire. You can't even have a small outdoor fire at that time of year. It's usually too hot anyway. But even if it's not too hot, you're not allowed to. So that's something that I struggled with when I first started in witchcraft and paganism, to reconcile the fact that summer solstice, Beltane, were all these fire festivals, and you just can't do that here. It's just mind-blowing to think of having fire at that time of year. Just a little side note for you. It's not something that works in Australia. Maybe it'll work somewhere else. I would suggest that New Zealand can probably do it. They don't have the same problems with forest fires or bushfires as we do. But yeah, it's just something that's not part of a tradition that's going to work here. So to have the English Ale Festival in May makes a lot more sense here. So it's the same as doing a Beltane festival, but we have it in the autumn when we're allowed to have fires. They still had the country fire service everywhere, making sure everyone was safe. But it's far more appropriate at that time of year. And then we had a Beltane crown. Who doesn't love a flower crown? I mean, really. Not quite sure what that is. That was not supposed to be there. Yeah, that was just fun. Flowers, cake, crown, rainbow, Beltane. Awesome. And that's that. So there we are, ready for our Yule prompts for the Southern Hemisphere. And of course, Litha coming up for the Northern Hemisphere. So check out the prompts over on Instagram. As I said, I'll link our profiles below, and they will both be up on our profiles. And join us. Come and join us, whether it's creating art, doing tarot spreads, writing poetry, journaling, cooking. Celebrate these prompts however you want. Do a ritual, a spell, however it works for you. So come and join us. As above, so below. The hashtag is as above, so below 2024, because if you just use the hashtag as above so below, we will never see it, because it is just, you know, there's just such a flood of people using that hashtag for all sorts of, you know, witchy pagan reasons. So we're just not going to see it. It also helps if you can tag us. My Instagram handle is Corrigan Moon Leopard with underscores between, and Emily's Instagram handle is Fern and Oak Art with dots, full stops, what do you call it, periods in America, between the words. I'll link them down below anyway. Come and check it out, and join us in celebrating the beautiful seasons that we're in. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing these artworks, and I will bring you a new video very, very soon. Much love, my friends.